Hello and welcome to It'll Be Alright in the 90s. No longer the newest and freshest faced 90s nostalgia pod on the block, because this is the first birthday party of It'll Be Alright in the 90s.
Hooray!
Stu, we've hit 1 year. How does that feel?
We have indeed. I mean, I'm amazed we got past one episode, to be fair, with everything that's happened. But first year in podding. Really enjoyed it. Everybody's been really lovely. Hope for many more years. But I hope we get to celebrate this every year as well.
Yeah, it feels like ages ago we recorded the first one, the football kits one. That was the first one, wasn't it?
It really does. Yeah. I mean, I lived somewhere else.
So did I.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we both moved. We both had. I wasn't a cat owner. There was lots of things were different. So there's the power of the pod, and all of these wonderful people we've spoken to over the last year. Some of which we're going to remind ourselves of in a second. It's definitely made my life. It's enriched my life being the co-host of Wessex's premier 90s nostalgia podcast. That's for sure. So thank you for having me, mate.
Oh no, absolutely. Thanks for suggesting it in the first place. I agree. It's definitely enriched my life, and I'm gonna start getting nostalgic about this nostalgia podcast if I'm not careful. So I don't want to create some sort of vortex of double nostalgia.
Did you just say it was my idea? I thought it was your idea.
I thought it was your idea. I thought
the way I remember this is I sent you the link to the liver run.
Oh yeah. No, you're right. I said,
and then you said we should podcast about this.
Yeah, and then you said no, we really should podcast about it. Yes, I remember now.
Small acorns, or from small livers. I don't know. That doesn't really work, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, right. We've digressed slightly and almost forgot about the episode sponsor. But for the birthday episode, our sponsor is Virgin Cola, which I think is kind of good for a birthday party. It's a nice thing to have on the
very much so
on the gingham tablecloth for the party. So if you quote the code AllRight90s in any participating branch of Sainsbury's, Safeway, or Summerfields, you can get 40p off a 2-litre bottle,
wow.
Not 20 litre. That would be
what a deal.
That would be a bit wild, but 40 pence off a 2-litre bottle of Virgin Cola if you quote the code AllRight90s in any of those branches. And just to make it clear, Virgin did want me to make this clear. This offer is only limited to Virgin Cola, doesn't apply to any of the other Virgin products. You can't go into your local Virgin Mag store and try and quote this. They will look at you blankly. Strictly just a cola, but a good deal nonetheless, I think. Thanks a lot, Virgin. Thanks a lot, Richard.
Thank you. Did Richard Branston listen to the episode that was sponsored by Cresta Lemonade and want to get in on the action, do we think?
He did say that.
Big rivals, yeah? Cresta and Virgin.
Yeah. Did you just call him Richard Branston?
That's his name, Richard Branston.
Of the pickle. Virgin Pickle. But in all seriousness, I think Virgin Cola was or is the best cola. That's how last time I drank it, I seem to remember thinking it was the best. And I was actually looking them up on Wikipedia because it's the sort of thing I do when I'm supposed to be working. And I noticed that the company that eventually bought Virgin Cola, I think, weirdly, it wasn't owned by Virgin after a certain point, was the same company that owned Perfectly Clear. And Perfectly Clear is still going. I gave it a mention in the last episode. No one seems to remember it apart from me, but it is actually still a thing. Perfectly Clear. It's flavoured spring water. That's about it, really. I just wanted to make it clear that it is still out there. And if you ever see it, please let me know because I'd like to try it again. And actually, that company that owns Perfectly Clear and Virgin Cola also owns Roller Cola, made famous by Peter Kay in his stand-up, which I've never seen. I've never seen Roller Cola anywhere. I don't know if you ever have, but maybe.
No, me neither. It must be it's like when he refers to the supermarket Netto. I've never seen a branch of Netto, but I think it must be a Northern England thing. I think, and
I've seen a Netto.
Softies, aren't we? So
yeah.
We've been perfectly clear that Perfectly Clear does exist still.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And also, I should remind everyone that we are sponsoring the Locomotive CS six-a-side team. We will be on the front of their home shirts next season, and if you want to buy a replica shirt, you can get £5 off if you quote the code AllRight90s. So if you go on any of their social media channels, send them a message, tell them you want a shirt, quote that code, £5 off, and it's a great deal, and we heartily recommend you get involved and get a replica shirt.
definitely something to consider. I mean, I've heard that they're tipped for great things in the Football Mondial Huntington School Monday Night Pitch League.
Yeah.
If I remember that correctly. And very proud to be on the front of the shirts this season. Should be a couple of shirts swinging their way to us, shouldn't there, soon? I think.
I believe so. Yes, I think the first run are at the printers. So should be any day now. So can't wait to see them.
And we've got sort of easy terms to pay up our sponsorship money, or is Adam going to send the boys round?
I think it's probably going to get there'll be some heavies involved, I'm sure. And
yeah. I mean, having seen pictures and video of the team, it doesn't surprise me at all that they would conduct themselves in that way.
They are the crazy gang of the Huntington Six-a-side, etc. league.
But they don't know where I live, so I'll send them a check. It's fine.
All right, so yes, as we said, it is our birthday episode, and we are going to be talking about birthdays in the 90s, and we've got some other little things here and there. Because we've got some sort of special one-off features, we're not going to do what's the most 90s this time, just because of time. We don't want to cram too much in. Rest assured, it will be back next time, so don't worry too much about that. I believe we have bought each other some gifts. I know we have, because I've bought you one.
Absolutely. I mean, I've got a pile of stuff here that's arrived at Casa del Jos over the last week or so, which puts me in the shape, because I've only sent you one thing in return. So I've been online lunchtime today and ordered you something else to redress the balance. So maybe on the next episode you can open that and find out what it is. But no, we got some birthday gifts here that we've sent each other to mark the first anniversary of the pod. Do you want to open yours first? Seeing as you only have one, I'll let you go. I'll let you go first.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. So yes, listeners, we arranged it so these would be sent to each other's houses. Don't know what they are. I've not even shaken mine around. But to describe it, it's an A4 hardened envelope. That the hardness makes me think it's to protect something valuable. So opening it now. I'm immediately met by the joyous face of Daryl Such, and it is an official testimonial program, I believe. It says official testimonial. I can't quite read. Oh, book. No, Brooke. I can't read it, but it's a Daryl Such testimonial program, I think. And there he is, right, on the front cover with the classic 92-94 Ribeiro Norwich home shirt, and it looked like it would have set back someone back in the day a donation of £3.50. So there
you go.
That's lovely. Thank you so much, man.
I'm
getting it out of its
problem at all. Please do. I mean, I've had a look at the I was sent a few pictures of the contents, and there are some exclusive pictures of Daryl Such's wedding in there as well, which is something I thought you might enjoy. But yeah, they played AZ Alkmaar, the Dutch side, in 1998 for Daryl's testimonial. And yeah, it's I saw it and thought of you. So no, happy birthday, mate. I think Daryl's had a couple of mentions on the pod before, hasn't he? In passing, yeah. So yeah, he is something of a pod legend. So right, okay, well, everything I've got here was addressed to just for the listeners. Arrived addressed to the floozy from Pusey, which did cause some consternation with the postman every time I opened the door and he had something else.
I was a bit worried that you would have to maybe you wouldn't be in, and you'd have to go down to the post collection centre and you'd have to bring ID, and they wouldn't say the floozy from Pusey, so they wouldn't let you have it. So thank God you were in.
My only regret is that I didn't have the Daryl Such testimonial programme sent to the Pistol from Bristol. I really should have thought of that. But there we go. I'm just glad it got to you safely. So I've got a sort of oblong package here that's wrapped in fragile tape. So I think I'll go for this one first.
Yeah.
What do we think?
I think that was the first one that arrived, wasn't it? So
yeah, I've got the trusty penknife for the pop
careful
here.
With that.
So yeah, indeed. Okay, well, I'm assuming that what you haven't sent me are some Remington Shine Therapy straighteners.
No.
Is that? No. That's not it. No. That's just that's a box that's been reused.
Yeah,
okay,
that's definitely a reused box.
No, hang on. It's not newspaper. It's pick me up. There's been here we go. When Zanet Georgieva, 25, from Fivehead, Somerset, hosted a dinner party for her fella, she had no idea how badly it would end. Hang on, I've just got to read this a minute. We have it's a hooch half glass. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. Very, very vintage. You got the angry orange on there. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. Thank you so much. I've got to swing past my hooch stockist at the weekend, so I will pick some up, and then on the next record, that's going to be my drinking vessel. Thanks, mate. Good. I'm going to go for a small envelope next.
Yeah.
Which is also addressed to the floozy from Pusey. A bit easier to open this time. And we have...
This was just to use up the rest of the budget.
Oh, that's going straight on the laptop. It's an Andrea Moda Grand Prix team sticker. That's absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. And, of course, the obligatory Redbubble free sticker. So two for the price of one there. Fantastic. The F1 team, official F1 team in a pod there. One more thing. This one just arrived today. And in here we have... Oh! It's the Saturday, August the 26th, 1995 edition of Match Magazine.
Oh, look at that. Lovely stuff.
Absolutely fantastic.
Is there an Aston Villa poster in there?
Oh, really appreciate that. We've got a big advert for Championship Manager 2 on the back. Can Chelsea get signed by Liverpool? Brilliant. And there is an Aston Villa team poster in here as well. Oh, that is absolutely amazing.
I was worried you might already have that one because it had the Aston Villa poster in it. But
no, not at all, not at all.
Slightly before your time.
I'm just trying to find it now. I think they've gone for the two double-page spreads of the Southampton and Manchester City team photos. It looks like winner Sega Saturn. Nice. Closing date August 30th, 95. Maybe there's still time. They haven't given it away yet. Oh, I am going to get stuck into that straight after the record. Thank you so much, mate. That's so generous of you.
No worries.
That's very, very kind.
Not a problem. I should say to the listeners, we did give ourselves a £5 budget, which didn't include postage and packing. Hence why I was able to get 3 different things in. With the Andrea Moda sticker, that was a sort of last minute thing because I had originally found an 8x12 professional photo of Perry McCarthy pushing his broken down Andrea Moda back down the pit lane, which I wanted to buy for you. It was on eBay for £3.50 or nearest offer, but apparently my offer of £1 was seen as so derisory that the seller then banned me from making any further offers. So unfortunately I couldn't get hold of that. I couldn't even go over the budget to buy that for you because I've been barred from ever trying to buy any of his photos again. But I thought that would have been
who
perfect.
The seller was, don't you?
Probably it was either Andrea Moda or Perry McCarthy.
Perry McCarthy. That's who it was. 100% that was Perry McCarthy.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. I am genuinely thrilled. Thank you so much.
Right. So as we said earlier, listeners, we're going to talk about birthdays in the 90s, sort of the general trends, what we did for our birthdays in the 90s, what we think summed up the decade in birthdays. But also we're going to have a short sort of awards for the podcast to commemorate the last year. But before we do that, I'm going to just quickly go through the ledger actually, just so we know where we're at in terms of what's in the ledger. Obviously, it gets referred to a lot, but I don't think we've ever actually gone through it. But this is in the order that I put them in. I think I don't think everything's in here, but I've got the official goalkeeper of the pod is Jorge Campos, of course.
Yep.
The official carbonated beverage of the pod is Sunkist, although still a bit upset that they didn't get back to me about whether they still had any UK stockists. Yeah, still looking for it.
Disappointing.
Yeah. The official English Football League club of the pod is Coventry City. The official outfield player of the pod was Dion Dublin, because he played for both Norwich, Aston Villa, and the official Football League club of the pod, Coventry City. So he obviously had to be in there. The official F1 driver of the pod, Taki Inui. The official F1 team of the pod, Andrea Moda. The official demo disc of the pod was Demo 1. The official brown ale of the pod was Stones. The official Irish ale of the pod was Caffrey's. brother of the pod is Adam Greenwood. Official Alex of the pod is Alex Mitchell. This is not really ledger stuff so much, the connections to the pod, but I'm going to read them out anyway. And obviously we have 2 legends of the pod so far, Lee Burns and Kate Pro. And that's everything I've got in there so far.
Great. Excellent. Well, the ledger will continue to be added to throughout the years. I'm sure there's plenty of room. And when we get What's the Most 90s fired up again next time, I'm sure we'll be adding to it again. Although from our last episode, it strikes me as strange that we haven't nominated a cigarette brand of the pod.
Yeah, that's true.
Unless we did say it was going to be Lucky Strike, but I can't remember.
Well, Lucky Strike, we both agreed was the coolest cigarette brand. But I'm not sure if it's the most 90s. I associate it a bit too much with the Vietnam War and sort of American GIs, maybe in the Second World War. So it feels a bit old for that. Maybe, we'll have to have a think about that. Let's get into the main topic, which is 90s birthdays, or birthdays in the 90s. What were your thoughts? I guess you would have had, what birthdays would it have been for you? For me, it would have been 5th to 15th or something like that, or 4th to 14th, something like that. What about you?
So it was in 1990 would have been my 2nd birthday, and in 1999 I would have been 11. So yeah, there we go. Second to 11th.
Yeah. Well, should we break it down into sort of activities you might do, presents and gifts you might have got, and food?
Okay, yeah, sounds good.
What about activities? What sort of activities do you think were summed up by the 90s for birthday parties?
Well, I mean, I think I don't know if this is dying out. I really hope it isn't, because I think it's a rite of passage that every child should experience. But the sports or leisure centre birthday party was definitely a big part of birthdays. When I was growing up in the 90s, I used to have them in conjunction with my best friend Matt Coe, who I've mentioned on the pod many times before, because my birthday is the 10th of December and his is the 14th, and we were best friends. So with birthdays 4 days apart, we used to get like joint birthday parties at the Springfield Centre, which was the leisure centre in Caution, which has now since been redeveloped. And yeah, we did the whole primary school class would come to my recollection, and the big treat was always there was like a sort of side room off from the big hall where the main party took place, like where all the food was and all that sort of thing, and a table for presents if I was lucky enough. But then in the big hall, there'd be a bouncy castle that the 4 parents had chipped in to hire together to hire, and I went to a few parties like that. Like I say, I remember a lot of my peers having exactly the same party at the Springfield Centre with a bouncy castle. And I don't know whether somebody did it once and then the other parents who were bringing their kids thought, this is a good idea. We can do this. And like I say, I'm not sure if it still happens, if people still do this, but I did very much enjoy a leisure centre birthday party when I was younger. Yeah,
exactly the same. I think that room in the Springfield Centre that having a party there must have been passed down through generations of Caution residents, because I had a birthday there, at least one. My brother had a birthday there, and obviously my brother is 3.5 years older than me. I'm a couple of years older than you, so it's been going on way back, exactly the same as you described as well. In that same room, you'd have a bit of the sports hall. You'd quite often have a bouncy castle.
Yeah,
we didn't have a bouncy castle at ours, I think, but I've definitely been to other people's parties who had a party there and they had a bouncy castle. So it's just a rite of passage for that town.
The other thing that came to my mind was bowling. Maybe when you got a little bit older.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think I was in year 5 or 6, so this is 98 or 99. This school got hold of some vouchers from the Christy Miller Sports Centre in Melksham, which had a bowling alley, and it was kids go free if an adult comes and all this sort of thing. And we could, got and said to my dad and my parents, look, we've all got these vouchers, we can all go free. We'll do the we'll have my birthday party at Christy Miller, we'll go bowling and it won't cost you anything. But of course they would only accept the voucher for one kid. They were like, you can't bring in 6 kids that have all got vouchers. So I think my parents ended up shelling out for themselves and then 5 other kids who they didn't really know to go bowling, which was a bit of a disaster. I think my dad still loses a bit of sleep over that. But yeah, how about yourself? What did you get up to?
Yeah, well, like I said, the leisure centre was definitely something I did for younger birthdays. I also remember having a party at Box Rec, setting up a table and kind of a similar sort of thing, I suppose, to this leisure centre. It's just somewhere out of the house where there's a lot of space for everyone to run around, which I know, again, a lot of other people from my year and from the school also did. So that was something that we would do when we were younger. And then I think, like you say, with bowling, it's sort of, you got a bit older and it moved on. You did something a little bit more event-based or maybe a bit more expensive. So yeah, bowling, or some people went ice skating. Also Quasar. Quasar was a massive one. And then I don't know if most people probably know that as Laser Quest. I think Quasar might be a Southwest thing. I've only ever known it in Bath, actually. Maybe it's just a Bath thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, Laser Quest or Laser Tag, I think, if you're American. And that was the most exciting thing. I loved that. Like, if one of my friends was doing that, it was just the best. It was just like paintballing, but without the pain. And I wish it was acceptable to do that as an adult. I know some people will say it is, but it's not. But that was a big one. Yeah, maybe going to the cinema. I remember going to see Hunchback of Notre Dame would have been the last summer of primary school, actually, so it would have been 96, I think. I remember going to see that and slightly crying, but just convincing everyone, or trying to convince everyone, it was just hay fever, in that way you do when you just don't want to be seen to be crying, especially as a boy. Just like so desperate not to admit it. Just sort of ridiculous in hindsight. I mean, it is ridiculous in hindsight, but yeah.
Hey, listen, man. Speaking as an extremely emotional adult myself, okay, you just gotta let it go. You just gotta embrace it.
Yeah.
I mean, I picked up my wife's copy of The Bear by Raymond Briggs earlier on off the shelf, just for something to look at, and I found myself tearing up at the last page. So it's just, you come to a point in life where you think, okay, if I'm going to cry, I'm going to cry. This is the 1980s. It's fine.
Yeah, it should actually absolutely be embraced, being in touch with your emotions. Another thing I suppose a lot of people did was go to McDonald's or Burger King. This was something when I was asking my friends, came up quite a lot, whether that was in Bath or for us, or I remember going there in London once, probably as part of a larger trip. But yeah, one of those fast food outlets was a big birthday location, I think. Yeah, and I think that those were the sort of things that I think sum up 90s birthdays. But like we said, I don't really know how that compares to these days. I'd love to hear from any of our listeners who are considerably younger than us or older than us, who will have had their birthdays in the 80s or the 2000s or more recently, or maybe people our age have taken their kids to birthdays. Actually, we're old enough now where that's a possibility. So yeah, do let us know, because I'd love to know how it compares.
Do you still go to a sports centre, and do you still play Quasar?
Yeah,
exactly. Let us know. You mentioned McDonald's there, which I've actually got under the heading food. So I think it's prudent to move on into that area now of the topic. So McDonald's was a big one, and obviously we had the McDonald's open in Chippenham, down there on what's now known locally as the McDonald's roundabout.
Yeah, of course.
In about 1994 or 95. And you just got taken to McDonald's every year. I mean, that, especially if your birthday was like a midweek, if it was on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and you obviously had to go to school, then going to McDonald's in the evening was a no-brainer. Again, I remember being in there with Matco, and they probably don't do this now, but the McDonald's used to have like paper flags, like in sort of stands that kids, balloons occasionally and all this stuff. But I remember me and Matt having like a sword fight with these flags.
Yeah.
And one of the janitors came over and gave us a bit of a telling off for sort of wasting the flags, if you see what I mean, because obviously we destroyed them. I remember it clearly.
Yeah.
If you don't want the flags, don't take them. Right.
Yeah.
That was what he said.
It's you do want the flags because you're clearly having a lot of fun with them. It's like they've made those flags solely so people will do free advertising for them. And the fact that they weren't going to leave the premises intact obviously annoyed them. Annoyed the corporate heads who just probably bust into that janitor and said, go and sort them out.
Those damn stuffed shirts at McDonald's, spoiling all of our pre-teen fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so McDonald's a big one. And I can also report, and this is something that my mum likes to wheel out every so often, that on my second birthday in 1990, I was ill and I ate one prawn cocktail skip the entire afternoon, and they'd laid on like a whole, a veritable beige buffet.
Yeah.
And I had one skip because I wasn't very well. So.
Well, it's funny you should mention skips. I was going to say the four things that I wanted or would go straight for at a birthday buffet were skips, party rings, Jaffa cakes, and chocolate fingers. Skips were like big birthday food for me. I loved them, still do. One of my favorites. It's a sort of party crisp. But I think as an adult, you can't really be seen walking around with a packet of skips, I don't think. I keep them very much for my home consumption for that reason.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I can't remember the last time I had a skip, to be fair. Would you put the quaver in the same bracket as that?
Yeah, I think in the sort of maize snack drawer.
Frazzles.
Or corn, or corn snacks. Yeah. Chipsticks. Oh no, is that potato? No, is that corn? I don't know. Chipsticks though, another birthday crisp, I think.
So we'll only see you wandering around Bristol eating like kettle chips or Tyrrells or something like that. But
exactly.
Then when you go home of an evening,
it's
straight into the old corn snack drawer.
Yeah. If you ever see me, sort of going into my house with a brown paper bag, you know that I've hidden my skips in it, much like pornography or alcohol or anything like that. That I've got skips in mine.
Well, when we have our summer party at the official pub of the pod, Three Crowns, I'll make sure that they've got some skips in for us to celebrate, because we'll be in a safe space then, and also we'll have listener of the pod, Big Tim, on the door. So to make sure the guest list is kept in order. So it'd be absolutely fine, mate. No problem at all.
Oh, good.
He's not going on the payroll though. This is a voluntary position. I'd just like to make that.
Yeah.
We've blown all the budget for this year on the birthday presents and the football kit sponsorship. So there's nothing left. There's nothing left in the coffers.
Another couple of things that sort of party food that came to mind for me was animal biscuits. Do you remember animal biscuits? Cadbury's animal biscuits?
Certainly, yeah.
I don't think they make them anymore, but come in a nice cardboard box and very sort of traditional 90s party food, I think. And also something which no one else seems to remember apart from me, which was they were these little biscuits that were kind of, I think, like a mini cheddar style biscuit, whatever that is. But they were in the shapes of sort of, I picture them being like card suits, so like diamonds and hearts and clubs and stuff.
Yeah, just like a cheese savoury.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Whenever someone says drinks and nibbles, that's what comes to mind. They are what I think of as nibbles, because you could get them at an adult party or just about at an adult party and also a kids party. So we would have a lot of them. I imagine they were quite cheap, so we'd have a lot of them at my family birthday parties, and then a smaller amount of things like party rings, so the sort of higher end snacks, and then of course you've got your cheese and pineapple on a stick, which I think is probably quite 80s, but persisted long into the 90s.
I mean, the Joslins were certainly devotees of the cheese and pineapple, and when I got a bit older in childhood and birthdays at Christmas, I was often put to work cubing the cheese and the pineapples in order to create these snacks. So yeah.
Did you put them in a hedgehog? I mean, not a real hedgehog.
No, there wasn't that much imagination to it. Unfortunately, they were just a plate and then a bit of kitchen roll probably. But yeah, the cheese and pineapple. I think that's due a comeback as well. These things often do come round again, don't they? So
and we did actually on the Instagram. Someone did contact us sort of with something similar to this. Knee deep in the 90s, who has contacted us a few times, said cocktail sticks with mini hot dogs, a lump of cheese, and a pickle, which I thought was like a more sophisticated version of the cheese and pineapple.
Yeah.
Quite interesting, like almost a round meal on a cocktail stick there.
I'd be quite interested to try that out if I could source some meat-free, what are they called, cocktail sausages?
Yeah, cocktail sausages. Yeah. Sounds quite nice.
Yeah, let's give that a go.
What about cakes? Do you remember? Are there any specific cakes that spring to mind for you? Any memorable ones?
I I remember one where my parents had saw some joke candles that couldn't be blown out, and it was a dinosaur cake as well. I remember that. But again, my friend, when you mention cakes, it's my friend Matt Coe again comes up, because I think certainly when I attended his 30th birthday a couple of years ago now, but I think he has had a caterpillar cake every year of his life.
Nice, yeah.
And of course, you know, birthday privilege always gets to the face.
Yes.
You know. So yeah, that's a pretty classic one on the cake front, I think. Yeah, in terms of cakes and myself, so I remember the joke candles, but not too much else, unfortunately, really.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. The only one I remember being made for me was, because my mum would have made one every year, I think. And the only one I can remember is one that was in the shape of an 8 on my 8th birthday.
Mm-hmm.
But also, yeah, caterpillar cakes, like you say, that was part and parcel of any birthday party of the 90s, I think. I looked it up, and actually they were invented in 1990 or launched in 1990. So,
well, there we are.
Right at the beginning of the decade, perfect for this. Yeah, and then obviously you get a party bag, and that might be moving on to a different area of birthdays, maybe more gifts, but party bag, you obviously have a slice of cake, maybe one of those little boxes of Smarties. That's another thing you can't eat as an adult, isn't it? You can't be seen walking down the street with a little box of Smarties.
No, I don't think so. No. You know, a sharing bag for the cinema, maybe, but not a snack size box. No.
I think M&Ms have sort of taken over the cinema market, and they're like the cool one, aren't they? You're allowed to have M&Ms if you're cool, but Smarties, I say bring them back. Let's have those tubes. Let's have those big tubes in cinemas.
Much to my wife's disgust, these days, when it comes to the cinema, I'm a revel man. It has to be said.
It's because you're unpredictable. That's
very true, very true. And I always say to her, first of all, A, you're not having any, and B, it's dark, so you won't see me eating them anyway. So it doesn't matter.
So what about presents? What do you think what did you get? What were the standout presents from your 90s birthdays?
Well, everybody our age during the decade must have got their first proper bike, I think. I think that's again a big rite of passage for anyone growing up in the 90s. So I had a little sort of scrambler BMX bike. I'd had that for years, and then on my 10th birthday in 1998, I got my first proper mountain bike, which was an Apollo Avio. It was dark green, and I rode that until I pretty much gave up on the cycling when I was about 13 or 14. I had a track which went, because I lived down the road from a park, so I sort of plotted a track that went round the park, and I had one of those trip computers out of the Argos catalogue that I installed. I say I installed it. My dad installed it. And then obviously you could time yourself and see the speed and all this sort of thing. And I just used to do laps and laps of this track that I'd mapped out in my mind to see what my best time was. And I used to love that. And also my cousin Paul, who sadly isn't with us any longer, but he was a big cyclist. And whenever he used to visit, or whenever we used to visit him, he used to have like a couple of cast-off bits for me that I could take and put on my own bike. Like I remember he gave me a saddle and a pair of handlebars once, and I took off the factory items and put these items that were a bit more racy onto my own bike. So it became a bit of a Frankenstein in the end. But yeah, I love that bike, and that has to be my favourite present of the 90s, I think, for sure.
Yeah. Do you know where it is now? It's not still in the shed at your
No, I don't. I'm afraid it's not. I would imagine, like most things that need to be removed from my parents' house, it probably ended up in the skip behind the factory my dad works at. Which then obviously gets taken away by licensed people once every so often. So there's no fly tipping going on, people. Don't write in. But yeah, obviously I probably outgrew it in the end. I never really had another bike after that. It has to be said. So maybe that's Well, it's like we said with yourself with Final Fantasy and me with Football Manager a little while ago. It's like if you get to a stage where you're not going to be able to get any better than what you had, then there's you shouldn't go back. Yeah. And I think that's it. I think that's it with me in cycling, because those times in my mind are so I treat them with such reverence that I think now to do any further cycling would be nothing less than just a desecration of a fine time in my life. So I think that's it for me in cycling.
I think the most 90s, not the most 90s, but my favorite present from the 90s, which is also quite 90s of its time, was a PlayStation 1, which I got given in my birthday of 97, I think. It must have been 97.
If I remember correctly from a previous episode, did you cry when you got this?
I did. Very good memory. Yeah, I did. It was a weird feeling. It wasn't crying from happiness as such. It was a sort of, weirdly, it was a crying because I was aware that I was moving on to be a PlayStation person and that we wouldn't play the Amiga ever again. And I had such happy memories of playing the Amiga. And I think it was that, which is weird. I don't quite know what it was. I guess it was just overwhelming as well. But that was what I was thinking at that point. So it was a sort of sadness of letting go. But I mean, like I said in the computer game episode, the PlayStation 1 did change my life and just made me into a proper gamer, well, a relatively hardcore gamer, and many happy hours playing on that. So I would hazard to say a life-changing present from the 90s. So yeah, that was the best one. I think I definitely remember getting a Diablo, which is probably the most 90s present I got, because that was a short-lived but quite intense phase, wasn't it? The Diablo phase. I think it must have been when I was at primary school, maybe year 5 or year 6. So you would probably been earlier in your primary school days. But yeah, everyone had one for a bit. I remember everyone bringing them into the playground, and then it
and then they were gone as soon as they'd arrived.
Yeah, it probably only lasted a couple of months. You occasionally see people with them in parks now, sort of older people. But it's kind of the same with circus skills. I remember when people were into circus stuff, it was like the alternative thing to do was to get into circus skills. You'd have people who bring in their juggling balls and stuff. Again, must have tied in with the Diablo thing. It was a little bit like for skaters who couldn't skate, they would get into juggling and circus skills. But I don't think it happens so much now.
I remember my parents getting me a Diablo. I don't know if I asked for it, but I got one. And but it wasn't round. Like they were misshapen, so you couldn't roll it along the floor to get it started. I don't know if you had to like put it in boiling water or something, and then like to shape it properly, like a gum shield, or whatever. But, that was a weird one. Yeah, I can't remember playing much with it or being into the Diablo in general, really. So but certainly, like as you say, for about a month it was everywhere, and then it was gone.
Yeah, exactly. People had practically lost interest in them before the Diablo came back down. When they threw it up in the air, lost interest by the time it came back down.
But one thing I did want to mention was my my drum kit. Not a real drum kit, really, I hasten to add, but this was when obviously I was into the stereophonics by then, and I fancied myself as a bit of a drummer. I always say that drums was my first instrument. The chaps I'm in the band with will probably disagree. When on the occasions that I do get behind the drums and play a song with the band, and I had spotted. Here's another thing. Sorry, I've just remembered this. So when I signalled to my parents my intention to learn the drums, I remember now my dad saying, "You'll never be able to do the hand things and do the foot things at the same time." He said, "You will never learn to do that. You'll never be able to do it." So. I mean, I sort of proved him wrong because I did play drums to a certain standard. When I then got access to a drum kit at secondary school. But anyway, there was a toy drum kit in the Argos catalogue, and this is when I'm about 10, I think. And it was like a bass drum, 2 toms, and then a cymbal on the top, and that was all it was, But I was dead keen on this, and I remember it being in the house like the week before my birthday, and I remember just sometimes sitting and just looking at the box, like willing my birthday to come so I could unpackage this and play on it, and then loved it. I remember the one cymbal was like made out of tin, like it wasn't made out of any sort of metal that had any resonance. So it was a clank. It was a clank rather than a crash, And then at some point after that, I played on that for a couple of months, and then at some point after that, we were in a music shop, and I bought a real pair of drumsticks, like a proper pair of drumsticks, with some of my pocket money. And my dad said, "Well, don't play on your toy drum kit with those because you'll just ruin it. You'll beat it into submission." But I did, and it didn't last that much longer, But it did give me a bit of a start in drumming, you know, and I think I picked up the guitar around the same time, and then guitar sort of overtook as my first instrument. But yeah, I did when I wanted to start on the drums. That was how I started with an Argos toy drum kit for my 10th birthday, I think it must have been. So yeah.
We should give a quick shout out to Party Bags. I'm sure they must still be going, Party Bags.
You like to think so? Yeah, you definitely still see them on the shelves. Yeah, definitely.
I think the one thing that I would always expect to get in a party bag is one of those. Actually, one of two things: either a polystyrene glider that you put together yourself in that little sort of paper envelope.
Oh, brilliant!
Or a parachutist. You know, a little plastic parachute with a little figure on the bottom. You throw it up in the air, and it would sort of half work.
And it gets tangled on the second time that you do it. And then, and then that's it.
Yeah. Slightly more longevity than the Diablo, but not much more. But yeah, a strong party bag game, I think, in the 90s. And yeah, maybe that's a good place to end this part of the segment of the episode. We're going to send every listener will go home with a party bag tonight. Don't worry about that. But we do have some correspondence on this. We put it out on the social media a few days in advance, like we always do. So, friend of the pod, Vicky Trundle. This is sort of in relation, I suppose, to the activities strand of the topic. She says Charlie Chalk play areas. I think she used to go to the Charlie Chalk play areas for her birthdays. So you'd get them by pubs, wouldn't you? You'd get them by. I looked it up actually. It was Brewers Fair. I think had the Charlie Chalk.
Yeah, the Brewers Fair on the bypass in Chippenham towards the motorway with the Charlie Chalk, still referred to by my father in particular as Charlie Chalks.
Oh, is it?
What you done this weekend, Dad? Oh, me and your mother went at Charlie Chalks for Sunday dinner. Very nice.
Yeah, so that is the one place that I thought of as well when I was thinking of Charlie Chalk pubs. It was that exact same one. I looked it up on Wikipedia, and apparently Charlie Chalk Fun Factory was a play area for little kids found in large pubs across the United Kingdom, now only found around Aberdeen. That's all.
All right, there's one still going though.
Yeah,
that's brilliant.
Yeah, well, it says now only found around Aberdeen. Like there's a few. They've all retreated back to Aberdeen, and they're holding out there now.
I wonder if we can contact them and arrange to record an episode from the only remaining Charlie Chalk franchise.
Yeah, that would be great.
I mean, to still have one restaurant named after a children's character that lasted for 2 series of like 15-minute cartoons in the late 80s. Yeah, is amazing. I think it's almost 40 years.
It's wild, yeah. I mean, I do wonder a little bit how accurate that Wikipedia article is, or how recent it is. But yeah, if it is still going, that's great. I would say, and I know it's not 90s, but Charlie Chalk, I think, is the greatest kids' TV program of all time. Wow. And I was watching an episode just the other day with a 6-year-old, I should say, but still enjoying it myself.
I think if everything goes to plan and we do a children's TV episode with a new special guest coming up shortly, we might have to mention Charlie Chalk, I think, if it does creep into the 90s, of course.
Yeah. Oh, I think we'll definitely have to.
Yeah, we'll definitely need to give him a bigger mention during that episode for sure.
Yeah. On Instagram, friend of the pod, Hannah Kelly Fletcher said Pizza Hut and the Unlimited Refill Ice Cream Factory. Many a childhood birthday party spent there. A few months ago, I actually found a photo of me at a friend's birthday party there in the 90s. It was taken right before my friend's dad told another friend that the ice cream smelled of strawberries, and when she went to smell it, he pushed her face into it. I'll send you the photo. And she has sent the photo. It's not actually of someone getting their face pushed into
that's a shame. That's a shame.
It's a picture of Hannah herself at the party. So maybe we'll share that on our social media, but it looks jolly nice.
Have you ever been to a birthday party where the person whose birthday it was didn't turn up?
No, I haven't. Have you?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
What happened?
It was when I was about 18, and it was one of our friends' birthdays, and we all agreed to go to Pizza Hut in Bath, and she just never turned up. So we all had a great time, and she didn't come. So there you go.
Did you find out afterwards why? What had happened?
I can't remember now. I just remember us all being there and thinking, well, this is a new experience. But I mean, we all had a great time anyway. Although I can't say that anybody's face got pushed into any ice cream, but
into a hot pizza. You had another story, didn't you? Which I think you told on the pod about when you turn up to someone's birthday. Was that the Crowns, or you insulted the birthday girl? What was that?
Oh no, that was yes, of course. I can't believe I didn't write this down again. That was yes, that was Old Road Tavern, and it must have been about 7 or 8. And yeah, I took along the CD with "Silly Little Rich Cow" by Midget on it, because they asked, bring along any songs you want to play, and I took that, and and the DJ played it, and the absolutely incredulous looks around the room. But yeah, no, I can't believe I forgot that. No, well remembered.
Yeah, that's a great birthday story.
Remembered, yeah. And no, Roxanne never did get in touch after we broadcast that episode. So if you are out there, Roxanne, and you remember that, first of all, I'm sorry, and second of all, we get in touch.
And a friend of the pod, Sarah Hayes, said her best birthday of the 90s was she went to see the Spice Girls for her friend's birthday. She says she's not sure if it was in the 90s, but it must have been, I think, because they were over on their first sort of wave. They were over by 2000, was it, or 99?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
So yeah, it must have been in the 90s, and that's a hell of a birthday.
Yeah, brilliant.
And another thing she said was we always used to have birthday sleepovers where we'd eat too many sweets and not sleep, and play games like when you wrote a line of a story and then passed it on. That sort of fold it over game, a classic thing. Yeah, so we haven't mentioned sleepovers, have we? But that's another big birthday.
That's another big one.
Everyone remembers their first sleepover. Mine was at Stephen Hackwell's house. Must have been year 4 or 5, I think. But just so weird. Like, you're out of the house without your parents. The freedom.
Mine was in the hall at Caution Primary School.
Was it?
Yeah. I can't remember the circumstances, but they just arranged a sleepover at school. And if you wanted to go and sleep over, you could. And we did.
What? So your whole, like, anyone in your school could do it?
Yeah.
And what this is when you were in primary school, I'm guessing?
Yeah. I mean, it's still notable in our house because my nan had just bought me like a new jacket, which I wore to this sleepover, and then it disappeared. And that, again, it still rankles. 25 years later. The same thing happened with like an FA Premier League bench coat that I had. Marks and Spencer's did a range of FA Premier League stuff in the 90s. And I remember I had a padded goalkeeping top as well, which I wish I still had, which just had the Premier League badge on it. But yeah, I had like a manager's bench coat with the big Premier League badge on the back. And that got lost somewhere as well. So
oh man.
Yeah. But yeah, no, when we do sleepovers in the 90s, I'll tell you more about the primary school sleepover. But the more I think about it now, the more bizarre it seems. I don't...
It does sound weird.
Yeah.
It sounds like the sort of thing that might come up in a court case in the years to come. We'll see. Okay,
keep my name out of it.
As mentioned previously, we do have some awards to sort of round up the year, the first year of the pod. I think the first one we're going to say is the best celebrity correspondence. What do you think, Stu? What was the best celebrity correspondence we had this year?
Well, I've gone for Norwich and England legend Darren Eadie.
Yeah, me too.
Me too. I think we really appreciate that he actually took the time to listen to the episode and what we were saying about him and get in touch with us to let us know that he appreciated our work. So no, big thanks to Darren, and we really hope that Caution School connection pays off and that we can actually get him on the pod at some point. That'd be, we'd be absolutely over the moon to do that. But yeah, no, Darren Eadie for me.
Yeah, me too, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, well-deserved winner there. Although I will give a quick shout out to Pedro Lamy, who liked one of our Instagram posts. I think that was the thing that was most exciting for me, to get a genuine Minardi F1 driver to just acknowledge that we existed was brilliant. But yeah, Darren Eadie, I think, well deserved. Yeah. What about most successful episode sponsor? What do you think for that?
Well, again, I mean, we've heard. I think we might have the same idea on this. We've heard news of their resurgence in the area recently. Mm-hmm. It looks like sponsoring the pod has saved Badger Line buses.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they were the sponsor for our fashion episode, and yeah, lo and behold, they are everywhere in Bristol now. I sent Stu a picture just the other day of Bristol bus station with just teeming with badgers, and it was a beautiful sight. So I think.
I mean, I don't think it can be a coincidence that we agreed a deal with them for them to sponsor the pod, and then all of a sudden, Badgerline buses are back in force. I really don't think it can be a coincidence.
Yeah, I don't think
so. We're pleased to have helped, chaps, and as we said before, if you could see your way clear to arranging a child's fare for us, if we quote the code Alright90s to the driver, that'd be repayment enough. We'll move on now to the Danny Baker Award for blooper of the series. Something that could have featured on the pod version of Own Goals and Gaffs. It might not surprise you that I've got a long list of nominations here, all of which came from my own work. But I think I have to go with the biggest and best, which was not bothering to research the release date of Californication in the UK as a single, and then nominating it as one of my videos of the 90s. And it turned out it was released in this country in August 2000. That has to be the one for me.
Yeah, it was hard to look beyond that, I think, and the fact that Joe Barter was there as well, so it was sort of in front of someone else, just made it slightly more wince-inducing.
Well, it had to be also in front of the pod's resident pop expert, who I know will have gone to the lengths to research this, make sure he's got all his facts right, even though it wasn't one of his choices. So it was doubly bad for me, really, and somebody I respect and love and have been friends with for many, many years. For him to now be looking down his lorgnette at me is pretty gutting, really. I know he only comes back on this pod now for you.
Well, I enjoyed it immensely anyway, so we got something out of it. What about the best guest story?
Best guest story. Well, I have to give this one. It's a family affair for me for this one, and I'm not giving this award to him only because he thinks he's not mentioned on the pod enough. I think he's mentioned on the pod plenty. But the story that Dad of the Pod, Glyn, in his live music in the 90s episode, suddenly remembered on the night. I'd never heard this before. I don't think it was in his notes. But he suddenly remembered about the chaps he came across at the Bon Jovi gig in Milton Keynes, who had knives with them and were cutting their jeans in order to make shorts because it was so hot. That to me was just an absolute mind bender. Like, how have you not remembered this and told me before that they were just in a massive capacity gig? There were these guys wandering around with knives.
Yeah.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite story of the series.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, I think, and there were a few stories that your dad told on that episode, and I think any of them could be nominated and chosen for that. So I'm definitely happy for that to be the award winner. What about best correspondence? That's our penultimate award. What do you think for that?
Well, first of all, we should obviously say that we are eternally grateful to everyone who takes the time to listen to the episodes and write in and give us their feedback on what they think and what we've been talking about. We do appreciate it, and that's why we've been going for a year already, so please do keep it coming in. My personal favourite correspondence was our anonymous correspondent who wrote in following our Ghostwatch episode with their own tale of the supernatural. Do you remember this?
Yeah, God, I had forgotten though, but yeah.
Yeah, so they sent me a long email with all the details, which I then read out on the pod, and it was a genuine chill down the spine moment following on from the Ghostwatch episode. So yeah, that gets my nomination, our anonymous correspondent and their ghost story. Yeah,
that was great. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that again to remind myself. But I do remember it being spine chilling.
Our final award of the episode and the final award of our first year is for just our favourite episode. Quite simply, which episode did we enjoy recording the most? Which one did we enjoy listening back to the most? So, Greenie, what do you think on this?
Well, yeah, to be honest, I've enjoyed all of them immensely. I think the Christmas episode was really fun. It's the first one that brother of the pod, Adam, was on, and it just had that Christmas spirit. It was really fun. I loved the Simpsons one. Having Will on as our first ever guest, Will Hodgson as our first guest, was just incredible. And he's such a raconteur. So that was great. And the fashion one with Kate Pro was really interesting as well. But I think the one that I enjoyed researching and talking about the most, and could have just talked about forever, was probably the computer games of 94 to 99 episode. Just because of that topic, I could have waxed lyrical about it for hours. What about you?
Well, same as you, really. I've never come away from recording an episode of this pod not having had an amazing time. Whether it's just been us two talking together, or as you say, when we've had great guests like Will, who came in to help us out for our first guest episode and has come back since and will come back in the future. Joe Barter, my dad, all these great people who have come in to talk to us. But my personal favourite episode was when the inaugural legend of the pod, Lee Burns, joined us to talk about the FA Vars run for Chippenham Town. I think mainly because we were both there and we were both involved in it as well. It's something that we actually experienced firsthand, and then just to get that different viewpoint on it from somebody who was obviously right in the middle of it was just amazing. And I've loved Burnsy for a number of years. He's still Captain Fantastic to me, and for him as well to have become so involved in the pod and give us a load of great feedback and carry on listening as well is amazing. So that was my favourite episode so far, and many thanks again to Burnsy and all of our guests for having come on and spoken to us in the last year, and we'll be sure to try again in the coming year for some equally brilliant episodes, won't we?
Yeah, without a doubt, yeah. We're always looking for new guests, new ideas, new feature ideas, whatever. We think, the sky's the limit with this podcast. So, just let us know any thoughts you have about our first year of podcasting, anything that stood out for you, anything that you think you'd like to see for the second year, anything at all, because as Stu said, we love hearing from you. Sort of makes it all worthwhile, knowing that people are listening and want to have some interaction with us. So, thanks so much for that, and do get in touch. As usual, you can do that on Twitter at allright90s. You can email allright90s@gmail.com and facebook.com/allright90s, all letters, no numbers. And we are on Instagram using allright.90s.podcast. So we'd absolutely love to hear from you. Yeah, I think that's it for the first year, all wrapped up.
Mm-hmm.
One of these days we're going to get a holiday, but not yet. So I think that's going to wrap it up. Have you got any final words for the year, Stu?
Well, just to wrap it up, a big thank you to you, mate. Obviously this is something that we're in together. It's an idea that we came up with together and we've brought through together. And I can't think of a better person to have embarked on this journey with and to share my love of the 90s with. And I hope we can carry on for at least another year. Let's not set our sights too high. We might hate each other by this time next year, but I doubt it very highly. So no, thanks to you, mate, for everything you do. It's like I say, it's a pleasure to do it with you. It really is.
I appreciate that very much. Yeah, and I echo it. Yeah, your wit and your bottomless wisdom of all things pop culture in the 90s, and your knowledge and recollections never cease to amaze me. So no one better out there, mate. No one better.
Oh well, I'm never going to have any sort of career, but at least I can do this, right? That's
yeah, that's it. Right, before it gets too emotional.
I'm filling up here.
We have agreed that it's okay to show your emotion for the purposes of all our listeners' time, so we won't go on any longer. So it just remains for us to say goodbye. So goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me. What do you reckon I should read first, mate? Pick me up or match?
Oh, it's got to be pick me up, hasn't it? I'm intrigued now.
All right, I'll go and put it back together.
Send it over to me when you're done.
Just going to pick up a random page of Pick Me Up here. It's the old Death Row pen pal. That old.
Oh yeah.
That old trope,
Yeah.
Good crossword here. Edit all this out. Sorry, I'm just reading now. I'm just reading. Right, what are we doing?
You actually got 4 gifts, didn't you? That really.
I did.